Look at your hands for a moment. Every tiny line carries a history far older than your name, your family, or memory itself. Perhaps someone once asked your blood type before donating blood, visiting a hospital, or completing a medical form without another thought. Most people believe blood types simply help doctors match safe transfusions during emergencies, surgeries, and life-saving medical procedures every single day. Yet researchers noticed something unexpected while studying different populations, raising questions that reached far beyond hospitals and ordinary healthcare. What began as careful medical observation slowly connected with ancient migration, inherited genetics, and stories hidden deep inside human history itself. Could something flowing silently through your veins also preserve clues about journeys your distant ancestors completed thousands of years before written history? Generations crossed frozen valleys, endless deserts, powerful rivers, and dangerous seas, carrying invisible genetic signatures without ever understanding their lasting importance. Long before laboratories existed, survival depended on adapting to changing climates, unfamiliar diseases, scarce food, and unpredictable environments across expanding continents. Those ancient choices shaped human populations in remarkable ways, leaving biological patterns that scientists continue exploring through modern genetic research today. Some people wonder whether blood type influences personality, behavior, or emotional tendencies, while others argue those beliefs belong only to popular culture. Scientists remain careful because strong evidence supporting personality differences based solely on blood type has not been consistently demonstrated through reliable research. Still, curiosity never disappeared because certain regional traditions, historical records, and modern surveys continue keeping this fascinating question alive across different societies. As genetic technology improved, researchers discovered blood types reveal far more about human evolution, disease resistance, and ancestral migration than previously imagined. Unexpected patterns emerged when ancient DNA samples were compared with living populations, opening completely new conversations about our shared biological past. Instead of providing simple answers, every discovery created deeper questions about how genetics, environment, culture, and history became closely connected across generations. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not whether blood predicts personality, but why billions of people continue searching for meaning inside these inherited differences. The evidence tells a far richer story than myths alone, yet many chapters remain unfinished beneath layers of history waiting patiently to be uncovered. Before understanding what science truly reveals, we must first travel back to the earliest civilizations, where this remarkable human story quietly began. Thousands of years ago, small human groups slowly left Africa, carrying simple tools, shared memories, and genetic variations that quietly traveled beside them. They crossed grasslands, climbed mountain passes, and survived freezing winters, never realizing invisible biological differences accompanied every difficult step forward together. Among those inherited differences were early forms of blood group genes, quietly passing from parents to children across countless generations without written records. Ancient communities settled near rivers where farming replaced constant migration, creating larger populations that shared food, diseases, customs, and inherited genetic characteristics together. In fertile valleys, families expanded into villages, then cities, while environmental pressures continued shaping which genetic traits survived through changing conditions over centuries. Historians believe these growing civilizations unknowingly preserved different blood type frequencies, as populations became separated by geography, climate, language, and cultural traditions over time. Archaeological discoveries reveal trade routes connected distant societies, allowing people, ideas, and genes to mix long before modern transportation ever existed globally. Merchants crossed deserts carrying spices, metals, fabrics, and stories, while families formed across cultures, quietly blending genetic histories with every new generation born. Evidence from ancient skeletons suggests populations constantly moved instead of remaining isolated, challenging older beliefs about fixed civilizations separated for thousands of uninterrupted years. Modern researchers studying ancient DNA found migration happened repeatedly, creating complex family connections stretching across Europe, Asia, Africa, and eventually the Americas through time. These discoveries transformed historical understanding because human history appeared less like separate chapters and more like one continuous journey of movement and adaptation. As communities encountered unfamiliar diseases, survival depended partly upon inherited biological differences, although environment, nutrition, and chance remained equally important influences throughout history. Scientists believe certain blood type patterns may have become more common within particular regions, because surviving populations passed those genes to future descendants. However, researchers emphasize that no civilization belonged exclusively to one blood type, despite popular myths continuing across different cultures even during modern times. Historical records from ancient societies never described blood types because people lacked scientific knowledge required to identify invisible genetic differences inside human blood. Instead, they observe personalities through behavior, traditions, leadership, and family reputation, creating cultural beliefs that sometimes survived long after their original meanings disappeared. Centuries later, those old beliefs unexpectedly met modern science when doctors discovered blood groups, opening remarkable questions connecting medicine, ancestry, and human history together. That unexpected meeting between ancient traditions and scientific discovery would eventually inspire one fascinating question researchers still examine with careful curiosity today. Everything changed in 1900 when Austrian physician Karl Landsteiner discovered that human blood could be separated into different compatible groups through careful laboratory experiments. His research explained why some blood transfusions saved lives while others caused dangerous reactions, transforming medicine with evidence instead of painful trial and error. Scientists later identified the major ABO blood groups and eventually the Rh factor, creating safer medical treatments used worldwide every single day. These blood groups are determined by inherited genes, not personal choices, childhood experiences, education, or the environments where people spend their lives. Researchers found that blood type depends upon tiny molecular markers sitting on the surface of red blood cells throughout the human circulatory system. Those markers help the immune system recognize familiar cells while identifying unfamiliar substances that could potentially threaten the body's normal biological balance. Because these genes are inherited from parents, blood type often remains unchanged throughout life unless extremely rare medical circumstances occur after birth. As scientists explored further, they noticed different blood type frequencies appeared across populations with distinct ancestral histories and migration patterns worldwide. Evidence suggests these patterns reflect ancient population movements rather than differences in intelligence, personality, or individual human potential across modern societies today. Some researchers investigated whether certain blood types were associated with specific diseases, discovering several meaningful medical relationships supported by growing scientific evidence. For example, studies suggest some blood groups may slightly influence risks for particular infections, cardiovascular conditions, or digestive illnesses under certain circumstances. However, these influences remain relatively small because overall health depends upon many interacting factors, including lifestyle, nutrition, exercise, environment, genetics, and quality healthcare. The question of personality became especially popular in countries where cultural traditions connected blood types with everyday behavior and social relationships between people. Many individuals genuinely recognize themselves inside those personality descriptions, creating fascinating discussions that continue across families, workplaces, schools, and online communities worldwide. Yet controlled scientific studies have generally failed to demonstrate consistent evidence, proving blood type alone determines personality, emotions, decision-making, or lifelong behavior patterns. Psychologists suggest expectations and cultural influences sometimes shape how people interpret their own personalities, making simple explanations appear surprisingly convincing over time. Even without proving personality predictions, blood types still reveal remarkable stories about human ancestry, biological adaptation, and survival across thousands of extraordinary historical journeys. Perhaps the greatest discovery is not who your blood type says you are, but what your DNA quietly remembers about humanity's incredible shared past. The greatest lesson hidden inside blood types is not about predicting your future, but understanding the extraordinary journey that brought humanity together today. Every person alive carries genetic memories shaped by countless generations, surviving changing climates, dangerous diseases, difficult migrations, and unexpected environmental challenges across history. Those inherited patterns remind us that modern humans share far more similarities than differences, despite living across separate countries, cultures, and languages worldwide today. Science continues revealing remarkable details about our biological past, yet every discovery also uncovers fresh mysteries waiting patiently for future generations to explore carefully. Researchers agree that personality grows through many influences, including family experiences, education, friendships, culture, environment, personal choices, and countless moments shaping everyday life. Blood type forms only one tiny chapter within an incredibly complex biological story that cannot fully explain individual character or personal identity by itself. That understanding protects us from oversimplified conclusions while encouraging genuine curiosity, supported by careful evidence instead of popular assumptions or comforting myths alone. Interestingly, many traditional beliefs survive because people naturally search for meaningful patterns connecting biology with everyday experiences and emotional human relationships throughout history. Sometimes those traditions inspire valuable scientific questions, even when researchers eventually discover the answers differ from original cultural expectations or historical interpretations completely. The true beauty of science lies within its willingness to question familiar beliefs while respecting evidence wherever careful observation eventually leads determined researchers together. Ancient migrations, archaeological discoveries, and modern DNA analysis now combine into one remarkable human story, stretching across thousands of unforgettable years of shared survival. Instead of separating humanity into different groups, genetics repeatedly demonstrates how deeply connected every population remains through common ancestors and continuous migration across continents. Your blood type may help doctors protect your health during emergencies, but your decisions, compassion, resilience, and character shape the person others genuinely remember forever. Perhaps that is the most meaningful discovery because biology provides possibilities, while everyday actions create the lasting legacy each individual leaves behind for future generations. The next time someone asks about your blood type, remember that the answer represents centuries of survival rather than a simple description of personality alone. Hidden inside every drop of blood exists an incredible connection to explorers, farmers, hunters, builders, and families whose lives made our existence possible today. Their journeys continue through us, not because blood predicts our destiny, but because history quietly flows inside every human being without asking for recognition. If this story changed how you see your own blood, share your thoughts below and join us for another journey into humanity's hidden past.